Hey, what's going on, senor? You doing okay?
Yeah, shake hands.
How you doing, man?
Hey, sir, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks for being in.
Yeah, we're good.
I'm so glad you come.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
How you doing, ma'am? You
Test.
doing okay?
Testing. Is this okay from here?
Excellent. It's been a full day.
It might take a minute, yeah.
Likewise, sir. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
audio live.
Okay, Paula, well, it's 6:30. We can go ahead and mark down. Let's go ahead and get 6:30. Let's go ahead and get started. So Paula, can you go ahead and take care of our roll call for us?
District 1, Joseph Morrow.
Present.
District 2, Sam Cortez. District 3, David Emery.
Present.
District 4, Michael Rodriguez.
Here.
And District 5, Charles Gate is absent.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you can please rise and join us with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate that. All right. Well, we got a full agenda. Hopefully we can get through some of these items, but I appreciate everybody's cooperation as we go through this. Hopefully everybody that was going to speak has signed in on the sheet. If you haven't, please let us know, just so we have an idea for those folks that are going to be called up during the different times. So the first item that we have on our agenda is the citizens to be heard. This is the opportunity for citizens, visitors, and guests to address the city council on any issues or any item of the agenda in compliance with the LGC section 551.007. City council may not discuss any present issue nor may take any action on any issue at this time. Citizens to be heard are limited to 3 minutes each. That's based on the Attorney General's opinion, JC 0169.
Lady back
So-
here.
Oh, so we have somebody who needs to sign? Okay. So I think the first one we'll pass this out is Vicky. Vicky, come on up, ma'am. Let you introduce yourself to the council.
Yes.
And we'll give you 3 minutes for you to go ahead and address.
Good evening, Mayor Gonzalez and Aldermen of Lytle, Texas. My name is Vicki Eckert, and I'm running for County Commissioner in Precinct 2 for Atascosa County. I would like to share a few things with you about myself and a word I was taught as a child: commitment. I grew up in a single-parent home and was raised by my dad. Early on, I was taught that if you start something, you finish it, that task. When I was 19, I was tested on the word commitment. I cared for my grandmother from 19 to 27 while she was sick with Alzheimer's. I also supported my dad for 2 years while waiting for his disability to finally get approved. I was committed to the hand I was dealt. In 2003, I met my best friend, Lawrence Patrick. Lawrence had just retired from the United States Air Force after serving our country for 33 years. We started Tri-City Animal Sanctuary in 2005, I'm sorry. And in 2012, we started the Spay-Neuter Assistance Program for people in Atascosa County. It was that year that I met Betty Kroger. And I had also written a grant for the San Antonio Area Foundation, and that gave us the funds for the Spay-Neuter program in Atascosa County. That year, we brought the SNAP mobile clinic out once a month for a whole year. We were dealt many hands during those years. I had cancer. My husband had back surgery. But we kept going. Commitment kept us going. In May of 2021, I lost my best friend. He died to end-stage renal failure. But he had always wanted me to run for office. He always wanted me to become the county commissioner in our precinct. And in October of 2021, the precinct lines changed. And I looked at it as an opportunity to fulfill his dream and to fulfill what he wanted me to do. I'm telling you a little bit of my story because I want you to understand that I follow through with my commitment. When I make a promise, I keep it. I'm not college educated. I don't have a bachelor's degree. I've been to college for 3 years, but I'm committed to what I do. And I humbly ask you for your vote to become the first woman ever elected county commissioner in Atascosa County on November the 8th, 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Appreciate it. Thank you for your commitment towards the communities around here and to the programs that go along with that. I appreciate that. All right, let's see. So that's gonna be okay. Okay, so we still on the portion of citizens to be heard. Anybody else have any comments or anything besides what's going to be on the agenda? Those on the agenda will call you once we get to that item number. Anything else? All right, we'll go ahead and move on. 6:35. We'll go ahead and move on into the next section. And we're going to go ahead and do a presentation. Item number 5 is a presentation of proclamation proclaiming October the 15th, 2022 as White Cane Day. So what we're going to do is let's go ahead and bring Frankie, come on up. We're going to go down there in council. We're going to read the proclamation. We're going to present it. If you guys can kind of huddle up behind over here so we can take a photo, that would be great. Up behind the counter. And we're just going to be... So one of the great things I tell you about having an opportunity of working with different facilities, working in different facilities in San Antonio, and a lot of nonprofit organizations, you get to meet a lot of great people and what they do for other folks. And they reach out not only within the San Antonio area, but all these different communities to make sure that they get people involved and they understand about some of the things that are happening. Especially when it's a few folks that are affected by certain different elements that impact their lives, but at the same time, they actually rise above them and they make a difference. And they go out and they continue to make a difference in other people. And one of those individuals is here today because this Friday is actually the official day for White Cane Day. Frankie has been around this community. You see him in different places. He usually has his side partner that is hiding back there. And it's always together with him. But sometimes, you see him just walking around with his cane and he feels comfortable because he knows and understands our community, and he goes and visits folks and he comes back. And he does it without any hesitation or any fear or anything that goes along with that. So it's a great honor for us as the council, for us to go ahead and present this proclamation. And I'll let Paula go ahead and read it while we take the photos.
Whereas blindness of vision or visual impairment affects a person from infancy through advanced years, and whereas people who are blind and visually impaired enjoy all the rights, benefits, and privileges of living, working, playing, and traveling in the city of Lytle, Texas, and whereas every citizen should be aware that the law requires the motorists and cyclists exercise appropriate caution when approaching a blind person carrying a white cane, and whereas the white canes and guide dogs are tools that people who are blind or visually impaired are used to identify themselves and to travel independently while enjoying these rights, benefits, and privileges. And whereas the people of all ages who are blind or visually impaired have the right to travel safely while conducting their business and daily acts of living, and whereas the city of Lytle, Texas calls upon public officials, members of the civic organizations, and all residents to join together as we work to ensure the benefits and privileges of life in our city are available to persons who are blind or visually impaired.
Now therefore, I, Ruben Gonzalez, by the virtual authority invested in me as mayor of the city of Lytle, Texas, do hereby proclaim October 15, 2022 as White Cane Day, Awareness Day. Frank, thank you so much. Work it. Thank you, Mayor. There you go. I'll take it back over here. So we have a elementary. We're going to recognize later on in the week, and we'll have a chance to go ahead and take care of her with the
I appreciate everything that you, thank you for recognizing the life you did here. Thank you for your time. Yeah, you work well with it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you, council. Appreciate your support. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to number 6, the consent agenda. We'll have A, consider approval of minutes. This is for the 12th and the 26th of September 2022.
Yes, Mayor, I have a item needs to be amended. 6C for 9/12/22. It was in discussion of the traffic on Lytle Somerset Street. The motion was to not take an action. It's stated as the motion was to be tabled, but the actual motion was to not take action. 9/12. The seconds for yeah, because we did do that initially, and then with discussion with Jesse about having to follow up, we went ahead and just take no action. I made the motion.
Just for clarification on the minutes for the 12th, we were talking about the meeting. Let me find the item here for the anti-idling ordinance. Did we set a date for October 21st or was that September 21st? We had the meeting at the end of September.
Yeah.
That was 26th of September.
Mhm.
Because the minutes say that we set the date for a meeting on 21st of October.
So we did our workshop, like we can go back and get the date when we held the workshop.
Right.
Is that what we're talking about, the workshop date?
Right, yeah.
We
On
can get the actual.
on
date
the
of
11th of
workshop.
September, we said here it says we're going to have a meeting on the 21st of October, but I think it should be that we're going to have a meeting on the 21st of September. And that's when we had the meeting.
The workshop, yeah.
Okay. So just the month needs to be changed. That's item O.
Which one do you have? It was O. Agenda item O. Is that the one you're looking at?
Yeah, on the minutes for September 12th, yes.
Okay. Anything else, council, on the minutes?
No, Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes as annotated for corrections for September 12th, 2022.
Okay, got a motion on the floor for us to accept the minutes.
Second.
And then a second. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay. B, consider approval of payment of bills. Is this one, okay,
Means
right in front of us, we actually have a handout that was provided for us to go ahead and take a look.
we need to approve the other minutes. I think you only
Yeah,
said the
we-
12th.
Another set of minutes for 26th of
I
September.
do apologize. I thought we were doing both at the same time. Okay. So let me go ahead and we made the motion and we went ahead and voted on the 12th of September. So let's go ahead and look at the 26th of September.
Let me go ahead and make the motion. Make a motion to approve the minutes for 9/26/22
Okay.
as presented.
Got a second? Okay, any further discussion on the 26 September minutes? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right, B, consider the approval of the payment of the bills. I mentioned we had in front of us. So Annette, quick question for you. I noticed on there with the roof chiefs, roof repairs in the library, so those have been taken care of?
They will start construction hopefully this week. We have authorized the repairs. They're going to replace the entire roof, drip edges, paint the vents, put up new roof vents, everything. So they were considerably lower than the next closest bid we have.
Thank you.
And that is a facility that, or a location Cassandra actually found, I believe. I thought she was there. So, I'm sorry? Oh, okay.
She'll be here in a little bit.
So.
But no, that's awesome. Thank you. I mean, I think Council's saying, we've been talking about this for a while, haven't we? So this is a good thing for us to be able to take care of that. So thank you for your efforts. Lynette, thank you for that too. Appreciate that.
Mayor, I make a motion for the approval of payment of bills.
Okay. Got a motion on the floor for us to approve? Got a second? Okay. Any further discussion on the bills? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to item number 7. We'll go into the open session to take action on items discussed. First thing that we have, A, is a public hearing on the budget for fiscal year 2022 to 2023. Okay. I'd like to open it up. I think folks that signed up, we signed up for that one, but I still want to see if we have anybody that had any comments based on the public hearing of our new budget.
Here, I just find the meeting, the hearing is open.
Okay, we can go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and show at 6:48. And by the way, those of you that have been here, we're doing things a little bit different this time based on their advice. We can actually incorporate it. If you remember, we used to do that one separate, close that one, and then start the regular meeting. We're just putting everything together. Make it a little bit so it's like back to back. So this is good. Appreciate that. Okay. One more time. Any public comments on that? Okay. We have no comments. I'm waiting for a little bit to show. Almost there. Just show a minute. 6:49. All right, there we go. So we can go ahead and show. We'll go ahead and show that we closed the public hearing at 6:49 p.m. No comments on that one. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to B. Consider and act upon the ratification of ordinance number 22-10, adopting the budget for the city of Lytle, Texas for fiscal year 2022 to 23, beginning October the 1st, 2022, and ending September the 30th, 2023, and ordering same file with city secretary and county clerk. Matt.
Again, council, it's just ratification of your previously approved motion is all we're doing.
Mayor, I move that we ratify the ordinance number 22-10, adopting the budget of the city of Lytle, Texas for fiscal year 22-23, beginning October 1st, 2022, ending September 30th, 2023, and ordering the same file with the city secretary and county clerk.
Got a motion?
I'll
Second?
go ahead and second that.
Okay.
Mayor.
Got a second? Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for all your help in getting that. And Jesse, also,
Sarah, thanks to
we really appreciate that. Take care of that. Okay, C, public hearing on the petition for annexation by Lytle 35 Property LLC for voluntary annexation of a 4-acre tract of land compromised of lots 3 and 4, Earl S. Snavely.
Snavely.
Safely?
Snavely.
Snavely. Subdivision and located near the southeast corner of intersection I-35, Frontage Road and Bend City Road, Lytle, Atascosa County, Texas. So let's go ahead and show the public hearing open right now. It's at 6:50. Go ahead and open it up for a minute. See if anybody has any comments. Any comments concerning the annexation. Alright. Actually, the clock already changed. It's 6:51, so we'll go ahead and close it at 6:51. Thank you. No comments, and we will move on to the next agenda item. D, consider and act upon the ordinance of number 22-09 for the voluntary annexation of 4-acre tract of land compromised of lots 3 and 4, Earl Snavely subdivision and located near the southeast corner of intersection I-35 Frontage Road and Bend City Road, FM 3175, Lytle, Atascosa County, Texas.
So council, this is the piece of property that sits on that corner where they're building the new truck stop and the IHOP. It was discovered when they went to go try to file their final plat that the annexation process was never formally adopted by council a couple of years ago or a year ago, whenever they tried to do it for whatever reason. So they've had to come back in and petition again. We've worked through legal and they can answer a lot of the specifics, but it's the very back half of the property, which is just a parking lot, but we need to get all that annexed into the property so their entire plot or plat is within the property. So that's what they're asking to do. And you've got the entire ordinance in front of you, along with what we're going to provide them, right? It's police, fire protection, stuff like what we do for every other citizen, water, sewer.
So Jesse, I noticed on there we had the Exhibit B, the service plan for annex area, City of Lytle. Looks like it's a very generic service plan that they included in there.
That's right.
Yeah, because I noticed in there on the second page, I love hearing, on here, it talks about existing parks, playgrounds, swimming pools, and other recreational and leisure facilities within this property shall be the declaration to and accepted by the city to be maintained and operated by the city of Lytle.
It's standard, just pursuant to normal subdivision codes. Normally this happens a lot in subdivision platting. And so consequently, to the extent that there are any public spaces that are being dedicated, it just acknowledges that as to the services provided to the property, right? And so who would be responsible for maintaining those? So it's kind of boilerplate, which is why we leave it in
I
there.
got excited there for a little bit.
That'd be quite a truck stop,
this
sir.
developer is really going to put some stuff in there, I was like, yeah, I'll go ahead and take care of a few things. But no, that is good. That is good. Just for clarification. Appreciate that.
So this was just for the back half of the property.
Yes, sir. The very back half of the property, that way their entire plot or plat will be within the incorporated city limits of Lytle. When they tried to go file their final plat, we believe this had already been done because it was directed, but it had never got completed.
Because there was a
So
couple
never-
exceptions that I guess legal took a look at: the health code compliance services, C4, and F1 had the solid waste collection. Those were exceptions, but since I guess the business part of it is in the front.
Is all
that's
in the
already-
front.
Okay, so there's nothing. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's
And they're
just
connecting-
parking lot.
Yeah, and they're connecting to our sewer, right? That's what.
Yes, everything's getting connection.
That's one of the exemptions I mentioned in there, so. That's good. That's good. And the parking, the infamous parking lot.
Yes, sir.
Council?
I move that we approve ordinance number 22-09 as stated in the agenda item.
Got a motion? for-
Second.
Got a second? Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Appreciate all that help too, just to get it back on track.
Yes, sir.
So this is definitely going to help us out. Really good. All right. Doing good, council, doing good. Let's go ahead and move on. E, consider and act upon ratification of the final plat for Lytle C store located in the southeast corner of Interstate I-35 Frontage Road and Bend City Road FM 3175. Matt?
So council, y'all previously approved their final plat when we thought the annexation had been done. It hadn't been done, so all we're doing is ratifying your previously made motion. So that way they've got all their documentation done when they file it with the county.
I move that we ratify the final plat for Lotto C-store location, southeast corner of intersection Interstate Highway 35 Frontage Road and Benton City Road on the market 3175.
Got a motion on the floor?
I'll second it.
Got a second? Okay. Any further discussion on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Right, F, consider and act upon ordinance number 22-12, limiting the idling heavy-duty vehicle to 5 minutes and setting an effective date, establishing an administrative penalty, and directing city secretary to publish notice.
I will let legal explain that one to you.
Council may recall that the council previously directed the city attorney and staff to prepare an anti-idling ordinance. There'd been a workshop on it, and they've reviewed an example of an ordinance had been approved in San Antonio, and we did prepare that ordinance. But as we were finalizing it, we realized that actually that there's a statewide Texas Center for Environmental Quality, TCEQ, has a statewide standard, which is also 5 minutes and it relates to anti-idling as well. And they have a program that allows cities to enter into a memorandum of agreement with them to enforce the statewide standard as well. Some of the exceptions to the 5-minute idling are a little bit different than in the draft that we'd prepared. Cities would actually be a little more strict than the TCEQ standard. But we wanted sort of direction from the council and have an opportunity for the council to consider whether they wanted to pursue the MOA with TCEQ and do sort of enforcement of TCEQ standard. If we did that, then we probably would need to match the same exceptions and harmonize the two so that there would be no discrepancy between the two. So that would facilitate enforcement. It would also make it consistent with the statewide standard as well. So I know there are several cities that do participate in the program. The one thing that we would need to add is an enforcement plan. And of course, that we could use some of the same enforcement plans that the other communities that already have signed it. So it would be fairly simple to prepare. But we wanted direction from council on whether they wanted to do that. If we do, then we'll go ahead and set this aside, and then we can go ahead and develop that. But we didn't want to press forward until we got direction from council on how they wanted to pursue that.
So Jesse, question for you on that, because I did go through what they use as part of their exception. So if we adopt theirs, we're going to have, if we go with them, we're going to have to adopt what they have. We can't exclude anything in there.
I do not believe so. They have, in fact, they have a form of their
Okay.
memorandum of agreement, so it's fairly standardized.
So I personally have, because some of the things that we actually said we would not include in the ordinance are actually listed in here. For example, a vehicle operated solely for defrosting the windshield. And we had that discussion about enforcement and putting our officers in an awkward position while you're doing that. So some of those things are in there that we actually said we were going to withdraw from our ordinance.
Correct. And so that's why we wanted to have the council discuss it, because the San Antonio, for example, doesn't have the MOA with TCEQ. They do it just to their own standards. So it's a little bit different, but they are a very large city. So they have a lot of trucks. So they may have that independence, but the city may feel that they want to do it more of the statewide standard. It's really at the discretion of the council on how they want to operate it. But either way, they're both workable in terms of developing an enforcement plan alike. One feature that we did add to the ordinance is we did include a warning requirement, and the purpose of that would be to allow for the body cam camera to monitor the warning, and then thereby you would see that they in fact were given the warning, and then there would be some explanation as to what they were doing. That would then, so for example, if they claimed that they fell under one of the exceptions, then when they came to municipal court, they could then produce that evidence to support their claim that they fell under one of the exceptions. So that makes it easier to enforce, and then so there is that. It kind of removes some of the awkwardness and difficulty for the officer in terms of enforcement of it.
The other thing I didn't really like, the city will need to submit a detailed plan for implementation of TCEQ rules to the MOA. The city's plan must be adopted to the implementation plan, and it's adding a few extra layers in there. And I will tell you, even right now, we have certain things that we're going through for asking for plans, not specifically with TCQ, but with others. And it just adds more administrative burden. And it's more back and forth and, hey, you need to change this, do that. Council, I just recommend that we actually just stick to our ordinance, do our own, and not have to go through this, because it does. If we accept some of these rules that are in here, for some of the things that we actually talked about that we were going to withdraw off of our ordinance that we agreed to in previous times. So, but it's,
If we were to adopt the TCEQ, do they have task force that come into our city and they can actually enforce?
No, they don't have a mechanism for enforcement. That's why they have the MOA program.
And that's why they ask for a written up.
That's right. And so
Okay.
they have a form MOA just to facilitate that a little bit. But again, it's the city doesn't have to adopt the TCEQ standard. They can adopt their own, which is what San Antonio did, and which is what the ordinance that we have in your packet that was already been prepared is the city's version of it. So that would be your own. So if you wanted to act, you could go ahead and approve that tonight as well. So we just didn't want to change it without having a conversation.
but
with
this was good to
council.
check. It's good
Yes.
to check. Now,
Yes,
I
sir.
would be willing to go down if we could remove or not have to use these, but if we have to use these exceptions, we're back to what we had started with our draft and we eliminated as part of our workshop.
Correct.
So,
That's right.
yes, sir. Matt?
Council, it's however y'all want to proceed. Like I said, we can either go with the TCEQ, which is basically, from what I gather, a lot of the draft we saw with San Antonio's that we looked at that we removed things from, or you can approve the previous ordinance you had in front of you that got tabled, which had everything that you as the council wanted initially during the workshop.
Would that include what the attorney was talking about for the?
We wouldn't have to do
body
an MOA.
cam? The body-
No.
It does include the warning and the body cam. It does have that
In our ordinance?
in the city's ordinance. Yes,
Your office
we
does
added that in. That's for the city's own. Again, to facilitate, the idea was to facilitate enforcement and not make it quite so difficult for the officer. They would be able to say, hear the warning, record the reason why they would claim that they were allowed to continue idling, and then they could.
So is the ordinance ready right now?
It's ready if you wanted to
we approve this
proceed.
Tonight, you're done with it?
We're done with it. Yes.
Well, I move that we approve ordinance number 2212 as we drafted in the workshop with the additions that the attorneys made.
For the final revision. Is that a motion?
Second.
Got a second? Okay. Any further discussion?
So the document you sent out, Doc 289-169-V1 anti-idling ordinance doc you sent out, which was basically outlining what you were discussing with legal.
Yes,
That's
that
the
was
one
the
we're
last one
gonna-
we got from legal. That was the final draft we'd come up with based off the.
Because I have 3 items that I need to address on there.
Okay.
So should we tentatively adopt the ordinance and then review? Because there's some language in there that I would like to address and
So
see.
this is the time of the
Yeah.
discussion if you want to discuss some of this.
Okay.
I mean,
But the thing is, we don't have the document in front of us. I have it, but does everybody else have it or
I can
had
print
a chance to look at it? That's what I'm getting at.
Okay. Got it.
Would you like me to print some?
Go ahead and do that. You can do that. We got Richie up to something.
I thought midday night.
We missed Richie, didn't we? I know.
And that's a lady restaurant. I never talked to a lady before. Attorney, you know a joke, maybe?
Hey, Richie, why don't you bring us up to speed? How we doing on our smell around the city?
Bad news, man.
Bad news, it's still coming back?
Being linked to possible terrorist attack. They're gonna hit one of them $13 million missiles, but they figured it wasn't worth it, you know, too much expense.
He just brought a truck in?
Yeah, too much expense for the game, you know.
So is that referred to as chemical warfare?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Organic chemical warfare.
Organic.
Better for the environment, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah, just mark it on here. It's fine. Easy to do it there.
So why don't you take us to the first area that you.
So, let's go based on the. So I have on page 1, the last whereas item should include owner-operated vehicles, because it says fleet, if I'm not mistaken. You can have it.
No, you're fine. They're making, Paul's gonna make notes to fix it, and then legal's got a copy too.
So it was talking about,
So owners.
the last whereas, enforced will begin January 1st, 2023, to allow fleet managers and fleet owners to adjust their operations with compliance to ordinance. That should also include owner-operated vehicles. So 18-wheelers that are owner-operated.
Owner operated.
That should be included.
Okay.
Got it. Number 2,
Page 2,
page 2, number 2.
on the very top.
Page 2, number 2. Shall include but allow for exceptions for non-residential areas. Is that missing? Number 2 is supplemental provisions,
I got 1, 2 on that one.
and by which persons or property is or may be transported as required. I didn't know. He's here. 5.
Second page, primary.
Oh, okay, so number 5 should allow for, or should refer to APUs as well.
This one here,
Yes, for number 5.
so including.
So we put APUs on that one. I'm still trying to understand what number 2 was. Because I have it noted as still include but allow for acceptance for non-residential areas.
So number 2 is for an armored vehicle. So this is just for armored vehicles. So Jesse, on the second page, idling prohibited, number 2, where it says no driver using a vehicle sleeper berth may idle the motor vehicle, and it has those 4 on there. Are we saying that they can idle anywhere as long as it's not in there? I thought that we had talked about just making it straight across the board.
It's not allowed in those particular locations. Those little Romanet one, like for example, in a school zone. So
So I believe that's where they, even if they fall into an exception, they're prohibited, period, in those areas. Then you have the exceptions down below where they could idle. So if you're within one of those school zones, you don't get to claim an exception, correct, Justin?
that's right.
So if you're in a school zone, you can't idle, period. If you are within 1,000 feet of a public school during hours of operation, can't idle at all for longer than 5 minutes. You're not allowed to claim an exception, is what they're saying.
No, Matt, it's the other way, actually. It is, so what happens is, idling is prohibited. So what happens is that we're laying out what is the general rules, right? So in item B, well, item A is the definition. So we're describing what the terms mean. And then in B, we're describing what types of, where does it apply specifically within the city of Idle. So it is not in, say, generally Atascosa County or other places outside of the city. And then C lays out the general rule that no idling is prohibited, right? Number one, more than 5 minutes. And then specifically, there, with regard to vehicle sleeper berths, they're not allowed to idle in these locations either. And then D lays out the certain exceptions to those general rules.
So with the two, so going back to the discussion that we had on that, well, Mike, just so we can come back to him, is I was envisioning, so if we use that and saying that you can, in certain places, because we don't define those people that are gonna be on the frontage road. You know, it's not gonna be in a school zone, it's not gonna be in a public school, it's not gonna be near a hospital, and it's not gonna be in a residential area. So are we saying that it's okay for them to pull on the side of our frontage road and be able to idle?
They could, but not more than, not more than 5
Yeah.
minutes.
That's what I'm saying. You can't idle for longer than 5 minutes unless you meet one of the exceptions, correct?
Correct.
And that's where we took a lot of the exceptions out that we talked about. They could use defrosting their window, protecting or whatever. I think we took out like they had to protect their load. So you can only idle for 5 minutes in the city unless you have one of the exceptions.
On D.
Indeed.
So why do we need number two then?
That's when they're using the sleeper berths.
Yeah,
Can't
that's
sit
where they're
there all
using the
night
sleeper
long
room. Yeah.
Well,
Run
that's,
their engine while they're
well, that's what I'm saying. So are we saying that we're gonna be okay with them pulling over on our frontage road and sleeping and letting their engines run? That's, you know, we had that discussion.
No, I don't believe so.
By stating number two, you're stating that there are exceptions.
Yes, and the exceptions are in D.
Correct.
So if they can idle for longer than 5 minutes if they're using a sleeper berth, if their vehicle's under the 14,000 pounds, which is not a commercial motor vehicle. You provide air conditioning necessary to employee health safety. If you're in an armored vehicle, they can idle for longer than 5 minutes.
Which is necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're remaining motionless because of traffic, we have an accident on the interstate, shut the interstate down, and they're stopped in traffic, they can idle for longer than 5 minutes. The military, National Guard, Reserve Forces, or emergency vehicles could idle for longer than 5 minutes. If the engine is providing a power source necessary for mechanical operation other than propulsion, so if that vehicle running is what's powering the air conditioning unit for the trailer, which isn't typical. So that's what they're saying. You can idle for longer than 5 minutes if you meet one of the exceptions. Outside of that, you can't idle for longer than 5 minutes in town.
Like refrigerated truck.
Yeah.
So refrigerate. So for example, if I'm driving an 18-wheeler, I can't idle my truck, but my refrigeration unit can run all night.
So the question, Jesse, is once
Right.
again from the legal standpoint, because it's interpretation on that. So number two, because it's talking about sleeper berths and it's saying you cannot do it in these areas. So
Right.
there shouldn't be any problem with us enforcing it on the frontage road where 18-wheelers decide to pull over and be in the sleeping berth and they're idling.
What it's saying is that there are certain exceptions that relate to, for example, on item number 7 in section D, where you can idle up to half an hour. So there are some exceptions to that, but it's just generally laying out that the sleeper berth is not. It's just generally prohibited specifically in these areas. It's just reinforcing the fact you generally can't idle more than 5 minutes citywide. If it's which is exactly what the way the TCQ rule is, by the way. There's no, if you wanted to, you could just eliminate 2 altogether.
I would prefer we just eliminate that one. Because somebody's going to interpret that and say, I'm okay because I'm not in a school zone, I'm not 1,000 feet and not a residential
And I
area.
have a sleeper berth, so you're opening up for an exception.
Yeah.
Whereas you're already saying in the documentation that there is no exception. It's 5 minutes.
And I've kind of kept quiet here, but I don't know, I mean, I appreciate all the effort going into this, but from a law enforcement standpoint, you know, this is, I mean, I don't know how you, I don't know how you would approach this, you know, with everything going on in town, how you're gonna wanna train your officers to look for vehicles that are idle. I mean, right now, the only place I could probably get tickets is the school.
But keep in mind, when we decided on adopting an ordinance, it was to prepare us for the future. So when they do tighten down on us, when Bear County does come down to us, or Atascos or Medina comes to us and say, now, we need to start doing things about it, we already have this in
Well, that
place.
makes sense, I wasn't involved in that discussion, that makes more sense to me.
That was
I mean,
one
I'm
of the
just
things
trying
we
to
were
think
looking
right
at.
now, I'm trying to figure out what problem we're gonna be responding to, I guess.
I agree.
Okay, thank you. Well, I've said everything I need.
So I would just recommend that one, just to alleviate the gray area out of there. Did you
Yes.
figure out? Okay,
That was part of it.
that was part of it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was there any other areas?
No, just those two that I
Well, let me
brought up
ask,
and then that one.
They're putting in the travel center over here, and they're putting in how many parking spots?
70 for the larger one and 8 for the smaller one.
Okay, so does this say that they can't run their engines at night while they're sleeping
Yes, sir.
in the travel center?
Yes, sir.
We just annexed that part.
Yes, sir.
That's funny.
If that's the case, then we don't need number 2.
Now, are you gonna make the owner aware of that?
We've informed them. I've asked them if they were possibly going to make any corrections or additions to their property to allow for this, to maybe sell the auxiliary stuff. Said at this point, they were making the owner aware, but they weren't aware of any changes they were going to do.
But we gotta keep in mind, this is already in ordinances in a lot of cities. including
In San Antonio, yeah. When you get into Bear County,
I
well,
don't
in the city of
yeah.
San Antonio, you have it. TCEQ has it statewide. They just don't have a lot of people that enforce it. So it's not like we're doing something new. We're not reinventing the wheel. There's a lot of exceptions that make it almost unenforceable on the TCEQ side. But it's not something new. It's just something council decided they wanted to get on the forefront of.
Exactly. So right now, we do have 2 motions for us to go ahead and accept it. There's been mention about a few things, so we would need the motion to be amended to include the comments about the owner-operated, the APUs, including the APUs on there, and then removing number 2 on the idling prohibited areas.
When we had our workshop, we talked about APUs. Did we say
Yes.
that those are?
No, they're gonna be allowed.
They're
They're
gonna,
allowed.
oh, yeah, yeah, they're
Yes.
gonna be allowed. It's just including them.
They're almost falling like on the reefer trucks when they have the refrigeration units
I'm
running.
sorry, I misunderstood. I thought now you were eliminating.
No,
APUs.
No, it's actually adding it to the verbiage
Okay, thank you.
to allow it.
My bad.
That was on number 5.
Anything else, council?
Number 8, page 4, I believe. This, if I'm not mistaken, this says the effective date is January 1st, 2022. Sorry, yeah, January 1st, 2022. Is that,
Oh, yeah, so that would be changed
23?
based on when we actually go ahead and pass it.
so are we going backwards or do we change that to 2023?
You can't make it retroactive. And so, as we pointed out on the recitals, that we're trying to give the fleet owners and owner operators time to adjust. So, the few months from until enforcement gives enough time for the city and public education to happen. So that's the intent of giving a few months.
So it'd be 2023.
So it'd be, yes,
Okay.
after the expression of this year, 2022. So 2023 would be this
January.
upcoming January.
Okay, that was the last adjustment.
We just need to match it to the first page. basically.
Oh, is there a typo?
Yeah, I think we just missed it.
Yeah, the last one.
All right, council. So, we want to amend the motion or just want to, the motion right now is as is with no corrections for us to go ahead and vote on that?
I believe I made the motion originally, right?
Yes.
I would amend my motion to include the additions and changes that were outlined in our discussion here.
Did you get those, Paula? Okay. I got
Sam, you got the second?
Yeah.
second? Yeah, take an amended motion. Okay. Right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Thank you for patience. Those in attendance, we needed to cover that one, so appreciate it. Let's go ahead and move on to G. I know we have Ms. Gonzalez here. Consider an act upon the city easement parking 19329 South Somerset Street.
Council, if you want, we can hear from the resident who put this on the agenda first, and then I can give background on the city side if we want after that, as well as code compliance in the police department.
Okay. Come on up, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Maria Gonzalez. I live at 19329 South Somerset Street. I just have a question. I just need to know where the easement starts and where it ends. I've taken pictures of how vehicles are parking in that area. I'm always told by one of the owners of one of the businesses across the street from me, the easement 6 feet, the easement 7 feet, the easement this, the easement that. I mean, I just want to know. I want clarification. I'm always told, well, I talked to Chief Priest about it and he said this and he said that. And like I said, I want clarification. I mean, I've taken pictures of how they park, how they're starting to park. Sometimes there's vehicles on half of the street there and half on the grass. So, I mean, it's becoming a hazard. To me, it's becoming a hazard. I don't know how this is taken care of or how.
Can we pull up the intersection on the Lynette, can you pull up that intersection so the council can be familiar with that area?
It's Live Oak and I believe it's Live Oak
It
and
lives right
South
behind
Somerset
Oak
Street.
and South Somerset
Yeah.
Street.
Oh,
Behind the pottery place.
Pottery
Yes.
place.
Let me ask you, ma'am, are the parked cars infringing on your property or are they across the street from your property?
no, they're on my side where the stop sign is on the side where the house is.
Can you show that picture you have again?
I have several.
There is the one with the white truck. Yeah. That's right next to the side of your house on Oak Street.
Uh-huh. And then recently,
So you feel as if they're actually parking partially on your property?
well, see, they started to park this way on the side of my driveway where I usually park in front of my garage.
But that's on the Oak Street right there.
No, that's right. Like this is my house. It's parked this way, facing my house.
Off of Somerset Street?
Uh-huh.
Really?
No, off of Oak Street.
Oak Street, right next to your garage.
Right next to the
Right.
garage.
Oh, there, okay, I see it there.
Yeah.
Can you go to satellite?
You could do the street view. It'll give you a visual. Right there, there you go. Yeah, come back a little bit.
I'll go back to the left. The other way.
All the way around.
There, right there. See that house? Right here.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, come on.
Back over here, Linda. On this side. Yeah, that, you get up in this area right here.
Right there in the
Over
corner.
there.
Click right in the corner intersection. There you go. Right there. Click it. Yes. Now you can turn it towards her house. There you go. A little bit more. So that's Oak Street there, and if you go a little bit more, you'll be able to get the catty corner and see both, there you go, that's both streets.
Okay, so let's answer your question first, easement.
So I will tell you, the only way to know that easement is the property owner can pull their survey. And then we'll know where their property line starts and where the city starts. The city has the easement, I don't know exactly what they are on the other side of the road. On the city side, we've had this looked at by the police department and code compliance. At this time, we found no violations, no ill will. The city allows parking on its easement, and that's where the vehicles are parking as far as we know.
Yeah, let me give a little background, because I've been doing this on and off for
7 years and I've been.
a long time. If you'll go up here, can you kind of get me back over the business there? So right there, you've got a hair salon, okay? It's been there many years. The problem is it has no parking, zero, okay? Now, go down about 50 yards, now you've got another back door there that is an antique mall that actually has a front address, but they put a door in the back for emergency exit, and they use it as their front. So now you've got two businesses operating with there is no parking there. So we all like to think that what's in front of our house is ours. The truth is, if I want to go out and park my car in front of your yard, as long as I'm not on there's really nothing you can do about it. I mean, you've got to pretend there's a curb there, basically mentally, and people can park. So the issue is over here is, what's her driveway? How much driveway do you get? 2 slots of driveway that people can't block? Do you get 1? I mean, that's a question I can't answer. But we tell people you cannot block the driveway, and you can't park too close to the stop sign. Okay? Again, that's where this problem's come in. So really, until we know exactly where the property lines are, and I would then at that point be her or whoever they need to mark those off, probably, and go from there. And then
James, where does the water run? Which side of the street on Oak? Is it on
the business side.
Is it on the business side? So it's on the other side? Okay.
Now, I will tell you, you're going to see more and more of this as downtown has a few more businesses and very limited parking. This will be more of an issue. Now, the lady in the salon has tried and done a lot to mitigate the problem by trying to get people to park, at the church. But I mean, you can't, when you're in there busy working, you can't keep up with where everybody's parking. That's part of the problem. So,
How about the parking lot across the street from the fire department?
yes, that's
not utilized by
parking
them?
as well.
Right.
So I've talked to the business owners, that's actually where they're parking. They've told some of their customers they can park there. They've received permission from the church to park on some of their property. So they're doing everything they can. But again, if you're inside that hair and somebody parks in on the easement there, they're not catching that. Again, we allow parking on our easement.
So ideally, I know this probably isn't what you want to hear. If you find your boundary markers, put up some sort of a fence, and they can park outside the fence. If they block the road, then it's up to chief of police to give them a ticket for blocking the road.
Because there may not be enough room to park a car and be off the property. You may be being out in the road. But we don't
Sure.
know that
Right.
until we find that.
I know my property, I know I found the stakes in the ground. And people, when we have football games and that parking lot's full in front of my house, sometimes they'll park in front of my house. And they have plenty of room. I can't say a word to them. They're on easement. On the other road, I have a fence up, so they can't come in my yard.
So there are spikes, because I know code compliance, the gentleman that went out and spoke said that there's spikes at the beginning and the end. So if I find those, he said I could get a metal detector and find them.
Call me.
I
I do that.
They may not,
Okay.
we're not going to guarantee there's spikes there.
Right.
The best is to go get your survey.
Okay,
Your survey is
It
going to
gives you
tell
the
you they can
measurements,
come out.
exact measurements from here to there.
okay.
I think that would be the best thing, ma'am. And just so we can go ahead and.
I
look
just
and
want to
see.
be clear. I don't want any issues. I don't want any problems with them. I just want to be clear. Where does the easement start and where does it end?
There's some easements that are wider than others.
Yeah.
But like on my, front of my house, I got like 8 feet. But if you go down the street, some other houses that maybe like 4 feet.
it may not take a big expensive fence, a couple posts and a cable of some sort, and that delineates where your property line is.
Railroad ties?
Before you erect the fence, though, make sure you contact us for a permit.
Yes, yes,
Absolutely.
have them check for utilities
Yes.
underground.
All right.
Did that answer your questions?
I
ma'am?
think so, yes, sir.
Okay.
I believe so. Thank you for your time.
Please work with Matt and the staff, and we can definitely take a look at that. That'd be great.
Yes,
That'd be
sir.
great. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, ma'am.
Good. Well, I'm not finished.
Oh. Okay, here we go.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so the football stadium, right across the street from the football stadium on the visitor side, there's 3 or 4 houses there. There's a no parking sign there for that stretch. How did they get that?
City council would have approved an ordinance establishing a no parking zone.
And because it's the high school football stadium, or is there a safety issue? People going back and forth
That
from,
would have been done even prior to my time, but the reason behind it would be is, you know, you jam up the road there. Would
Right.
probably be a lot of things. There's several no parking zones around the school that were established, much before I was here. So, some of them kind of become less effective as they move to schools.
right?
It's probably because there's no easement on the other side.
Yeah, there isn't. It's just a sidewalk.
Yeah, there's a sidewalk, so. And if you park there, you might block the road.
And if we had a lot of accidents over here, sir, you know, because there is definitely some issues, you know, between the two trying to get it mitigated. But had we had a lot of accidents, then I would have to tell you, we need to make it no parking zone. You know, I mean, on one side or the other side or both sides. But we don't have anything to back up that as of yet.
So I went to Saddle Ridge this weekend, and it's interesting that all the homes aren't up yet, but there was a situation where there was a car parked here, because I believe you had mentioned one time, you bring in a home, a manufactured home, there's 2.5 cars per resident. There was a car on this side, there was a car on this side. I have to stop and wait for the car coming to pass through in order for me to get through.
We
'cause
find
there's-
that on patrol during the day. It's something we're not used to. You know, you almost gotta kind of look, can I turn down that street? I'll
Right.
just go down the next one. So it's something we're not used to because the subdivisions we have, Park Place, Lakeshore, are nothing like that. So that's definitely, it's a lot more, I don't know how the trash trucks even pick up the garbage out.
I can tell you, my neighborhood, I live in a neighborhood just like that, fully developed with a lot of cars. And the trash trucks pass through it all the time. There's times I have to wait and let a car go by or something, but I
Well,
mean,
you know
I put
that,
my travel trailers through with cars parked on both sides.
well, you know that garages, they're not even used to park your car anymore. So I would imagine
Oh, yeah.
where I was at, there's 2 cars in the driveway. There's a 2-car garage, so I would imagine that's where they keep their
I don't
valuables.
park any
right?
in my garage. It's
And then the
storage
3rd
and
car
use.
was in the street.
It's a-
If you looked on that map, again, if you look down Somerset, I've never noticed cars parked along the easement on Somerset. I just happened to see one on Sunday. There was a white vehicle. It looked like it was the resident's vehicle. They parked it right there in front. What I'm getting at is if we start having vehicles parking up and down Somerset Road, and that's a pretty nice road there, it's going to be a lot of congestion there. Is this something that the council we need to look at? I don't know how we could enforce it. So you were talking about the stop signs. Is there a certain amount of distance from the
Yes,
stop
it's so
sign?
many feet, man, you remember that,
I believe 15 typical.
So we'll say it's 15 feet.
I don't know.
which is not very much. I mean, it's not a very big difference.
So it'd probably be good for us to go ahead and look. I mean, if we have situations like that,
At least,
to try to come back to the council and say, hey, let's relook at this area, to try to take a look at it. But right now, let's go ahead and take care of what we have. I want to make sure we take care of the action item. It's good points, and we're going to need to bring it back up. But we need to go ahead and decide on this one. If we're going to take no action right now, if you want to table it, see what you'd like to go ahead and do so we can take care of this agenda item.
Mayor, I move that we take no action on this item at this time.
I'll second
Is that second? Okay. Any further discussion on this address?
Yeah, I just want to state that I want to take a closer look at this situation. See what we can do citywide. And whether it's enforceable or not, there can be safety issues when you have so many cars. And there again, when we grow, we're going to have more situations like this. I mean, imagine Somerset Street, Lytle Somerset Street we were talking about earlier. There's no parking on the street. If you had one car parking on the street, you would basically block transportation, down that street.
People do park on the street
People do
though.
park there.
Yeah, well, they do, but
Yeah.
that's not the brightest
No, but we
idea.
definitely need to take a look at those things, look at that feature. Okay, anything else for discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll be standing by. Matt, just help us out with that and what
Yes.
Mike brought up in the future, we need to take a look at different areas too. So,
But once y'all want us to look at it, we can start looking at it.
Roger that.
I
Okay,
can get with you. Give it some ideas.
so let's go ahead and move on to H. I think we have Mr. and Mrs. Casillas on consider and act upon a granting an easement for the installation of a water line on the east side right away of McCoy Lane.
So, council, I'll give a quick briefing on this. This was first brought up by a person that lives down the road, wanting us to maintain McCoy Lane, and I advised them that McCoy Lane wasn't in the city to contact the county. The county brought back and said, no, y'all annexed it, and started a long conversation. Long story short, apparently we annexed the McDonald property back in 2006. We annexed all the way up to the easement side on, if you're looking down McCoy, on the west side. Well, according to state law, when you do that, you not only take the easement, you take the road and the easement on the other side of the road. Correct, Justin?
I believe so, yes.
Yes. So they were able to forward all those documents to us, and it is what it is. I didn't even know we took McCoy Lane in when we did that easement. Nobody here was aware of that either. The chief, nobody knew McCoy Lane became a city road apparently. So Mr. Casillas and them are trying to get a water line to a new house they've built back there, and it's the city's easement, and he wants to place that water line in the city's easement. So I can't just grant that permission. I believe the city would have to grant him an easement, or how does that work, Jesse?
Typically for a private party locating a private water line or something like this in the public easement, usually it's a permit or a license to locate it because the easement actually conveys a property right. So it would be more like a permit or license allowing them the legal right to locate their water line, in this case, in the city easement.
In the city, okay. And I believe they've already got a water line already there, correct, Mr. Casillas? There's already one there, and they're just trying to place one right where the other. I had never done that before, and I didn't know if we had to grant him an easement or a permit, and that was up in the air, so we decided to put it on the agenda.
Usually it's an alignment issue. I mean, because typically it's a little unusual because typically you would have the main in the street or a lateral going out, and then it's just a service line connecting to it. I'm not familiar with.
So
the
our
setup.
line is actually all the way out at 2790 is where his meter would be, and then I sent you the document. It's quite a bit of linear feet he would have to add in at his own expense to put that line in. Of course, being careful that we don't catch anything else calling for locates. The good thing is he's retired from TxDOT, correct? So he's aware of how to do it. But I'm not worried about the quality of work. I was concerned about me just saying, sure, do whatever you want in the city's easement without having some kind of formal process. We've never done
How
that.
many homes are we talking about that we technically?
So here's what we
we're
took from
supposed to
everything
be
I can,
servicing.
from what I can gather. When we annexed the McDonald property, the chief and I thought it stopped short, but apparently it didn't. It went all the way up to the edge. So we took McCoy Lane all the way back up to where it makes that turn right there. So we still have to, in talking with legal, we would still have to go back and check the records of the county to make sure McCoy Lane is an actual county road that was dedicated to the county whenever. The county says it was, but I don't have that documentation. And that it's just not a private easement that eventually at some point got McCoy Lane and it just stuck and the county just started maintaining it.
So
But
how many properties are assigned to that lane or access that would need help?
You own it all? You own all the property?
No, we own that 74 McCoy Lane, and then we own 180 McCoy Lane.
so all of this property on the left is still, I don't know if it's still owned by the McDonald, but it's one large piece of property right here. And some of it being in the floodplain, of course. And then we've got a couple, I think it might be
Now, he owns the second house.
Okay, on this way.
And then he owns the one at the very corner, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The one at the very corner where McCoy Right turns, he owns that. That's the one he wants to put water.
But it might be 4 or 5 homes on the right side, correct, I think?
There's 2 lots in between.
I'm just thinking long-term for being able to service if there's gonna be.
Well, we already service it. I mean,
Eventually, if someone ties in there, we'll have to run a main down on one side or the other. You know, eventually, since it's in the city limits. But we're servicing all those people now.
yeah, they're in our water, they're on our water system unless they have a well. But I mean, that's part of our CCN. We just weren't aware that it was a city road until the county made us aware of it.
So the line may be temporary until James puts a main in, but they're essentially just extending a private line
Yeah.
to the main that is on 2790, right?
And they've paid all fees and everything like that. They're ready to
I
get
don't
to
want
work.
to delay this, but I'm just saying if we're going to be looking at easements and doing all that, it's good to understand what needs to go on the ground to be able to service that whole area. If there's possibility of additional homes going in there. So we have the capacity, right?
Yeah, that's down the future though. I mean, I don't know where we are on that. We'd have to figure out that cost, work with our engineers to design it, draw it all up, because it would be probably more than 50,000, therefore triggering us having to do it by an engineer, or 20,000, sorry, 20,000, not 50. So,
James, do you have any concerns or anything?
No, you know, they've been working on this for a year. Yeah, I guess, I don't know what kind of development's gonna go across the road. I mean, between there and the road, if there's some kind of development in there, developer may put the main in there.
Good point.
But even if we give an easement on the right-hand side, we can always run the main on the left. You know, we'd have to bore for meters, but I think there's only probably room for a couple of meters, a couple of houses in there.
so talking to legal, we don't need to issue an easement. We just need to issue a permit, which we've never done before, but we'll figure it out and issue a permit if
We have.
council's okay. Perfect, there we go. We don't have that permit in our list of permits.
It's a, yeah, yes, it's a permanent.
Okay, council.
So you need a motion approving the granting of a permit.
Yeah, I guess at this point, yeah.
Water.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll make the motion that we grant a city permit for the installation of the water line on the east side right away of McCoy Lane.
Thank you, sir.
Second it, I'll second.
Do you have a second? Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much.
We'll reach out tomorrow.
Appreciate it.
And we'll get that all done.
Appreciate it. All right, thank you, council. Okay, doing good. Okay, hi, update from city attorney on obtaining city's files from the previous city attorney and action if needed.
So council, brief update. This is just an update. Our new attorney took over in May. Here we are now in October, and we're still trying to see where we are on obtaining whatever city files our previous city attorney has that our new city attorneys need. I did receive an email, which y'all got copies of from our previous city attorney. I forwarded those to our current firm, and Mr. Garza responded back to me that our previous city attorney email is accurate and everything that he said, that the firm is just, that our current firm has just been super busy with the tax season, and they have not had a chance to reach back to our previous attorneys to coordinate dates. But they do want direction on what files we actually want. Do we want anything he has? Do we want the last 10 years worth? Or do we want just the 2 open matters that he has?
Just by way of background, of course, Mr. Kate had been the city attorney for Lotto for many, many years. And so when he initially responded to our contacts with him, he indicated that he has like 30 years worth of, archival records and stuff relating to the city. So that would be a lot. And he's invited the city and our firm to go ahead and go by and pick them up. But we recognize that that's an awful lot of records. And normally the state law establishes minimal standards for records for cities to maintain. And typically they're less than 10 years for most records. It's typically most for 3 to 5 years in many cases. And so you may in fact not want all of those records. That's part of the reason we were unclear as to that, and we wanted to have some additional direction from the council, whether they wanted everything. It's possible you may want everything and then cull it down, or maybe you want to prioritize the initial, year or two, first few years, cull through those, and then go back and pick up other archival records that you might want. So we were just looking to have a discussion and sort of direction from council as to how to prioritize and what approach you wanted us to take in recovering those documents.
Let me ask you a question, and I honestly have no clue here. If the city generates a document in the course of business, the city would have a copy of the document. And our attorney would have a copy of the same document. Is that right?
Well, it depends on how the city maintained its records at those times. The city was even smaller, and so Mr. Cade and the city secretary were handling probably most of the documentations at that time. So it's possible he may have a lot of those records. We don't know. We haven't seen them. But again, these are just more of certain kinds of things like deeds, easements and stuff are permanent. Those are permanent records. So those you would want. Those you never throw those out. But then again, many of those are recorded and recorded with the county. But other things have only a certain amount of administrative value. Just a letter or an email or something, just lying around it that maybe have a shorter archival record storage requirement. And so some of those are only around for a few years, and then you just go ahead and dispose of them. And there are rules about how you go about disposing of those as well. So the city does have its own records. Of course, the city secretary maintained those here at City Hall and the like. So those are available. So again, we weren't sure.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how many documents he might have that would be unique documents that we didn't have a copy of that we would need.
Well, presumably he would have all of the city attorney related documents. So things that maybe he produced, work product that he worked on for things that he was preparing for the city, other particular, drafts of documents, things that letters and the like, other kinds of things that he generated.
I think anything like you said, any deed, any easements, any maps, any zoning, and anything with ordinances, we need to get all those. Those are permanent records. Doesn't matter how old they are, we need to get those in the possession of the city.
Right.
And then the other ones, I think whether it's a 10-year in this way, to go ahead and take a look at it, or if you guys feel you need to go look and make a determination, that's fine. But anything that is going to be a matter of record that he has, whether he worked on it or it's actually part of the final product, I think it's important for that to be part of the city. We need to have.
Yeah, we may have our copy of it, but we want to have his too to make sure.
We may have.
That's why I qualified that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we need to get those.
So would you like us to prioritize the initial 5 years, 10 years? Because I don't know how he has those organized, but he does quite a bit of them.
Yeah.
So to the extent we're prioritizing a certain time frame, those.
I think once again, those permanent ones we need to get.
Okay.
We don't know if McCoy is in those records, and we have to take a look at them. It's obvious that we don't have it right now, right? We
Right.
talked about it here recently. So we need to get whatever we drafted up with McCoy Lane. That's important. So any record that is permanent, we need to get those ordinances, all that.
I mean, that right there would be 10 years. So
So,
we're talking about 8 years.
but those are permanent, so they can be more, from the time that he was on practice, I'm saying all those we should get. All the
Okay.
ordinances, all the zoning changes, all that, we should get all those. And then anything that is just the administrative portion of it, I would leave it up to the experts to go look at it and make a determination. Okay, we just need the last 10 years, the last 5 years, whatever you feel is important to have. But that way we can have those records and we can have access. And we have situations like we just went through right now.
Jesse, would it be practical to say, as soon as you could make an appointment with Mr. Cade or someone from your office to go look at how he has them filed? He may have deeds and records and things in one file cabinet going back to the beginning of time.
Right.
He may have workaday documents in another file cabinet.
That's right.
It might be easy for you to say, we need all of these, and you just get that file cabinet.
Maps. We need all
I would
that.
imagine the way he's got them filed is probably fairly in order. You know, and being able to go in and say, here's deeds for the city, here's this for the city, and we can just take all those files. Other things, you can say this is the last year, 2 years by. At least from my history of working as the previous city attorney, he was pretty organized on how he kept stuff.
And I'm sure he'd be willing to work with the city.
Yes, sir. Like I said, it's just an item that it's been open for a while. Myself, I created the notebook, right? Open items, keep. And I unfortunately have other attorneys. I'm always, hey, where are we at on this? It's just an open item. I'm just touching base so I don't lose track. And it's just one of those items that came up.
So we don't, this is just an update, right?
Just an update. We don't need to take action. I think we've got enough direction.
Yeah, and is your firm comfortable, since Mr. K gave us a letter and said, as soon as we can get together, we'll work on
yes.
this?
Yes.
That
Yes, yes.
you two can work together, and if there's a problem, then you bring it back to us.
Yeah, no, Frank's just, initial reaction was just like 30 years. That's a lot of documents. Do they really want all of them? That was kind of his initial reaction. And so, but we've got a sense of what specifically the kinds of things you're primarily interested in. It sounds like a lot of the permanent records and probably any pending, litigation, any of those kind of files. And then other administrative things, we could start kind of culling through those. That's something that, the
Thank you.
general direction.
Appreciate the update and appreciate be able to take that next step with that. All right. Anything else on that one? We're good? Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to J. Consider and act upon the interest of the city of Lido to use hotel occupancy tax monies to support convention center and PRCA arena in Atascosa County.
So council, Atascosa County was able, I'll say that, there is law in the hotel occupancy tax code that, qualifies Atascosa County for setting a hotel tax and start to collect those taxes, but they can only use that money for building a convention center and PRCA arena. I attended a meeting where the mayors and figureheads throughout the city are wanting to do this, and they tasked us with coming back to the cities to see if the cities were interested and also divvying up some of their hot tax money towards this project, because obviously the county can't fund it completely. I can tell you, in sitting at the meeting, there's a lot of gray area on who wants it, where it needs to be, best place for it to be. Lido was mentioned, but I can tell you it's not the number one place that 3 other entities want it. And like I explained to them, it's going to be hard. It's a hard sell for me to come to the city and say, hey, I think we should send hot tax money to the other side of the county and help support this project when it will not directly support any of our hotel tourism or anything in the city of Lido. Because me personally, if I'm going to have to stay overnight, I'm going to stay somewhere in the Pleasanton or Jourdanton area. I'm not going to say, okay, let me drive 30 minutes clear across the county. If I'm driving 30 minutes, I might just drive back home to San Antonio or something. Just like I expressed to them, if it was built up here in Lido, would they be able to tell their city, would Pleasanton go say, hey, yeah, you know what, build it in Lido, and we're going to send our hot tax money over there, when it's never going to give them a direct. So I need direction from the council. It would be my opinion, though, that we don't support this. We let them go out on their venture. There's still a lot of argument. You saw my briefing on it, on where they want it, who wants it, and how that's. I think there's a lot of inner amongst them that need to figure stuff out, but I don't know how this directly benefits the city of Lido. They expressed it, if it does well and there's extra money, then we could possibly get some extra money, and there's too many ifs for me.
The county can levy an additional hot tax
Yes.
for our hotel here, right?
Yes, and that's what they're going to intend to do, but they're not able to support going out and getting bonds to repay the bonds just off of the amount of money that they're bringing in. So they would need the other cities to say, yes, we're willing to give you X number of dollars of our hot tax money, and with all of that, we can support the bonds.
Well, I agree with what Matt's saying. I don't see as they're going to put it on that side of the county. I mean, it's not
The
gonna
talks,
benefit
there
us.
were several. One was in the Strawberry Festival grounds. They talked about the Atascosa County Show Barn, which is between Pleasanton and Jourdanton, and the city of Pleasanton would like it in their city. There's, like I said, sitting in the meeting, there seemed to already kind of be a consensus on where it was going to go, and Lido wasn't in the discussion.
Yeah, everything seems to be going that way. It's never,
Well, I mean, we just sit so far away from the county seat.
Yeah.
We kind, when they sit in talking to them, when I tell them, when residents of our area say we're headed to town, they mean San Antonio. Over there on that side, when they say they're headed to town, they mean Pleasanton. That's just the difference between our communities and where we sit in the counties.
You gotta be able to support it too with hot money, the circulation that goes along with that, with the tie-in, of how it's being utilized. Too, so that's the other factor that goes along with that. And I think the meeting that I attended, with the commissioners there, I think there was an agreement, where it needed to, in the sense of how it would impact one or the other, just like Matt said. I think it's important that wherever you decide you're going to do it, that you actually have the support and have the financial support to be able to take care of something like that and have the facilities. Because some of the communities that were being looked at can't even support it because they don't even have a hotel.
I think it's a great idea. I just don't know how it directly benefits Lytle, is my thing.
So
But I told them I'd put it on the agenda to see if y'all were in support of it. If you are, I can tell them. If you're not, I can go back and tell them we're not in support. Thank you.
this is our opportunity to go ahead and let them know how Lytle.
I think we need a convention center right here in Lytle before we need a rodeo center down in Pleasanton.
So can I get a motion for us to go ahead and pass on?
I make a motion that we pass on and not do this.
That we do not support
Not
this
support
project.
it, Yeah.
Keep our bidding, not support using the hotel tax monies to support a convention and PRC of the United States. Okay,
Second.
a second. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, council. Appreciate that. Okay, we're gonna do one more and then we'll go ahead and take a break. Almost time for 8:00. So, okay, consider and act upon the renewal of the certificate of deposit at Lytle State Bank.
So we have a CD worth 141,000 and some change that's available to either renew or liquidate into our liquid assets. We've got some projects coming up that we know about. We have to do major repairs at the sewer plant and some other things. So in talking with Lynette, it would be our recommendation that we do not renew the CD and we liquidate it. There is no penalty or anything like that towards the city. But we'll then have the funds we need to fix the sewer plant and some other projects along the way.
Do you happen to know what the original intent was when we opened that CD?
We don't. We have a lot of CDs that were just opened and renewed. And I in my time of being here, I don't believe council ever said open a CD, don't renew it, they just kind of got opened. I don't know where this money came from. I couldn't tell you. Did you have any history?
I went through some of the past meeting minutes trying to find, because I saw where it was open, but I couldn't find anything in the meeting minutes that directed me why it was open.
They just have some of these that we don't know have dates. Other ones we have that say like 1 year a CD. We know something that like the library CD. We know what those were open for, like repairs to that, repairs to this. We know those are for that. We have several they just say, CD December 2022. Don't really know. We've identified the ones that we know what they're for, but we have several that are just there.
Most of them are from a long time ago, right? From years,
Yeah,
years
some are fairly recent,
back. Are they?
within a year, 2, 3 years. I mean, they're not.
We've had a lot of renewals. I
Yeah.
have to go back and look every time, it comes up with a new account number. But some of them date back. Like, I've got a CD out there for $5,000 that's been there since 1994, I think.
So
It
what
really
would
don't.
happen, and let me just go off experience and not try to get too deep in this, but during the budget process, there'd be a little extra money here or there. And Ms. Copper would just tell the council, well, I can put that in a CD for that another time or something. And that's where I could bet that a lot of these, and Matt was here on some of those, that's where I bet a lot of this came from, is they were put in there for a particular reason, but it got lost what the reason was. And I bet plenty of money on
Or
it.
maybe the closeout of the year or
Yeah,
something.
there's
Ah,
just
wait.
different, little extra money here, because everybody had a little project, like something at the park, or to redo a roof somewhere, but remember, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, it cost a lot less, so $5,000 or $10,000 was more money. But I watched them do that a lot.
When that, how much interest are we earning on these things?
Like 36 cents a month.
Yeah, we're not getting
Well,
very
There's
much.
not gonna be a big hit to interest
Oh, no.
income for the city.
No, sir.
Could we use the money for some of the things?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So we know we got about a $30,000 to $40,000 repair at the sewer plant on the low end already that we know that wasn't budgeted for. So we know that, I mean, there's things out there we can use for repairs, yes.
Why is that not covered under the $8 million?
Because they're repairs, not new additions.
Okay.
No, that's not the expense.
Yeah, this is something that went out at the sewer plant that we got to get repaired. And it's a lot better than the 180,000 quote we had originally got.
This is good.
At this time, I don't see a reason to cash this, liquidity wise, financial wise, I don't see a reason to need this money at this current time. If we need to, then we can address it later when we can. But I don't have a reason to cash it.
Wait, hold on. I thought we said we wanted to cash it, is what you told me.
Do you want to cash it?
I thought you told me we needed the money to make the repairs, that we needed to cash the CD out and not renew it.
We don't need the money to make the repairs. No. That when it was coming at the 180, when he scared me, yes, I said, maybe we need to do that. But now that James got, the 30, and I just.
Okay.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we table this and give them a chance to go ahead and look at it? So can I get a motion for us to go ahead and table this?
I make that motion that we table.
Okay, got a motion for us to go ahead and
Second.
table? Got a second? Okay, awesome. Any further discussion?
Yeah, just when that, if we renew this now, are we locked into a 1 year before we can touch it?
From what I was talking to Karen, no. We have no penalties against certain ones that were set up. I would need to check with Daniel and Sharon, but I think this is one of those that aren't in that. kind of
Sure, that'd be good to know, because if we, next meeting, vote to renew it, that in 6 months we need it, it'd be nice to know that we can get our hands on it.
Good point.
But in the future, in the very near future, before the audit starts, I plan to combine some, because we don't have a bunch of all these excess accounts. So we shouldn't have 30-something accounts.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things that
I want to do.
we need to do
before the
based on the last time.
Okay, good deal.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor for us to go ahead and table this?
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, appreciate it. Okay, it's 8:02. We're gonna go ahead and take a 15-minute break. I know we celebrated with Skip last time, but if you want, he did show up in this meeting, so you can still say happy birthday to him. I think, in 2 days, Skip? Something don't get into trouble and you say what size they are, okay? Then-
I know what to say, what not to say.
Where it make you so good.
We are live on audio, just so everybody knows.
Roger that. Man, I got some of those pictures. Oh, Jesse after, we get that. Yeah, good. All right, let's go ahead and show 8:18. Go ahead and jump right into it. Thank you so much, council. Appreciate the break. All right, let's go ahead and jump right into I. Consider and act upon the creation of a city ordinance limiting storage and use of recreational vehicles on commercial property.
Oh, you said I was looking at L. Okay. That's why I was like, wait, we missed one.
J-
Okay.
oh,
I thought I
sorry.
messed my paperwork
Sorry,
up. I
L.
was like, great, I'm
L.
off. Okay. So, council, this is an item that was brought back up to staff recently, and I don't know how council wants to move forward. I'm looking for direction. There's been discussion about we don't want any recreational vehicles in commercial property. We do, we don't. So, my opportunity to ask you, is this something we want to proceed on? Not proceed on? I need to know direction if we want to move
So
on.
let me give some background on this one. So basically, in the past, we brought it up to the council, and we were asking because of certain vehicles that were parked along Main Street within the district of the commercial buildings. So we brought it up. It was introduced, and you can look at the minutes. It was introduced as a way that we had a permit process, a way for people to issue permits. We even brought up a permit. We looked at it. But after going into the ordinances and everything, there's nothing there. There's not set ordinance about how to issue permits or how to be able to do this. What we're trying to do is just make sure that people just don't park an RV for storage or usage along the main thoroughfares, the commercial. This has nothing to do with residential at all. This is all strictly with the commercial. We have opportunities for construction companies that come in. They can ask for a permit.
Yeah, so we do have permits to place a construction trailer on a site, or if you live in a residential area and you have family coming to visit, they can come in and get a $5 permit to park their RV there to visit you for a 2-week period.
So
That's all we have.
Those things are there, but we don't have anything in the sense of the commercial side. So that's the reason I'm bringing it up, because we need to be able to manage this. I think somebody, for instance, we had the dentist that moved down here. They were finding a place to work out of. They needed to park their RV to live out as they were trying to find a place. Hey, legit, in a sense, they give them an opportunity to come get a permit. They can actually stay in it. But just parking us on the back of a building or on the side of a building, parking an RV and just leaving it and it's on our commercial thoroughfare, I think those are the situations where we have to kind of make sure that we manage those things. So that's what this is all about, is giving them the opportunity. If you guys feel like us going and giving them an opportunity to look at some way to be able to manage this.
So not open for question, just a yes or no answer. Do we currently have an ordinance for residential areas?
No, we don't have any ordinance that relates to recreational vehicles.
Thank you.
No, you have to get a permit. If somebody comes from out of town and parks it in your property, you have to get a
I
permit.
can tell you, we do have a permit we can issue you. Yes,
Is there
but
an
there's not an
ordinance?
ordinance that states how that works. When you search an ordinance for recreational vehicles, nothing pops up.
It's not there.
But we do have a permit form that you can fill out for $5 and get a permit for a 2-week period to visit somebody.
And that's if that's not if it's your RV, you can
No.
keep it parked at your own house, right?
We don't have anything that says you can or can't. So you could. We don't have anything on the books.
Once again, we're not looking at it.
Yeah.
Once again, on here, this is commercial.
No, I understand that.
We want to make sure we stay away from residential. I don't think we want to do anything, but it's with a commercial side of it.
So then I caution in playing devil's advocate only. We talk about commercial. If an Explorer USA moves in, they're going to buy commercial property. If we pass something that said 0 recreational vehicles on commercial property, they would either have to get a variance or we'd have to amend the order. I'm just thinking outside the box. If we said to just a flat no all the way across the board.
No, Mayor, was your comment initially regarding parking of recreational vehicles on city streets? in commercial districts, or are you talking about on commercial zone property that is in a commercial district, just even private?
Commercial in a sense of storage, parking, and I'm okay with them in a sense of parking them, but a permit so we can kind of manage. Somebody that brings an RV and just parks it and just leaves it there, just sitting there. Those are the things
So-
that,
Mayor, again, are you talking about a recreational vehicle being used as a form of temporary housing on a commercial property? An RV is a form of housing, right? It's a form of, when you're camping, you're usually camping in some wilderness area. And so it's a form of housing located in a wilderness area. So what you're saying is the RV use that you're talking about is a residential use in a commercial property being used temporarily. Is that happening, or do you see that happening now? Or
we did have that, whether it was being used or just parked for storage.
because I would have to double check the zoning use restrictions. I don't know that you can have residential structures or uses in a commercial
Correct.
district unless you have maybe a mixed
So
use.
that's why in the past, once again, we got to look at an ordinance if we're going to put something and be specific. So that's why in the past, like with the dentist, we went ahead and used that opportunity to allow them to be there.
that
there
would be
were-
for an office.
Yeah, because they moved
Yes,
into
right.
the area, they were looking for a home, they moved into the office, they parked the RV in the back, but they came and talked to the the council, and they pretty much identified, hey, I'm just going to have it there until I find a place. Get it? But there's other opportunities where people have actually parked the RVs and they just sit there.
The reason I ask, Mayor, is because in some of our cities, there is a distinction between, a manufactured home or a mobile type home versus an RV in terms of resident as structures that are allowed in a residential district. For example, you cannot have an RV as a form of housing in a residential district. So if your code already doesn't allow that, then it probably wouldn't allow it in a commercial district either, for example. So it wouldn't necessarily come up as an RV use, but it would be that you wouldn't have a mobile or portable. It'd have to be some type of permanent structure or mobile home type
Just so you
structure.
know, we did pass an ordinance with mobile homes
Mhm.
along the commercial district.
Mhm.
We identified those districts where those that are there, they can stay there. They can get replaced once, but then after that, you can't have mobile homes along that. That
In a
ordinance-
commercial district.
In the commercial district. So we
Okay.
did pass that before, but that's for mobile homes. Not
Okay.
for RVs.
Okay.
Yes, sir. No, valid points, but that's what we're looking at. And just like Matt, we have certain permits out there, but we don't have any ordinances that go along with that. So I think it's important for us to be able to look into it. And that's all we're asking. Is just look into it and try to figure out what can be done. If it's already in the
all got a
ordinances where it's going to be balanced, then it's good to go. But if it's not in there, then we can go ahead and take a look at putting something so we don't have that and be able to enforce it.
Yeah, and the reason I ask is because cities typically do not allow residential uses in commercial districts generally. They do allow them in certain overlay or mixed use zoning districts. And the practical reason is that it results in a lot of disharmony, right? Because it seems like a good idea. It seems kind of cool. You'll maybe live in the middle of a commercial district. You'll maybe use an upstairs, turn it into some, modern kind of like apartment or something. But what happens invariably is people get upset because there's traffic and noise and truck backing up and beeping and then likewise the other way there's kids and people running around getting in the way of the trucks. They're concerned about safety. So there's a conflict in those uses. And so it's very common for cities to not allow just generally residential uses. So an RV would be a form of residential use. It's just a more temporary form.
We
And
do
so-
have a lot of residential inside commercial property. Or not a lot, but there are numerous I can think of right now.
Right.
So, Mayor, just to make sure we're doing the right thing, it sounds like we need to table this to kind of hash out exactly what's there, and exactly what we need before we get a motion to create an ordinance. Maybe we don't need to create an ordinance. Maybe there's something somewhere.
So
over there.
that's what is there interest in the council and us moving forward with any of this? A lot of this is just, use or storage of a recreational vehicle on commercial property, on or in commercial
And I'll
property.
bring up.
That's my thing.
I'll bring up the same, not to interrupt, but I'll bring up the same thing I brought up when this was brought up before. My mom has 20-something acres of commercial property. Under this ordinance, she wouldn't be able to she wouldn't be able to buy an RV and park it anywhere on her 20-some-odd acres.
Right.
Now, she's 71 years old, she don't want an RV, and I don't want an RV. But I'm just, in my mind, that's the way I think. There seems like there ought to be something in there. I mean,
So, and you're correct,
Yeah.
Richie. So once again, going back to the thing is establishing something and having a permit that goes along with that. Going back to the dentist example, somebody needs an RV because you're using it as a temporary, as a transitional period. There's some mechanism to be able to follow through with that versus it's just open, be able to do that. It just gives the flexibility to be able to manage it. So if somebody needs an RV and they need it, there's a permit process to go ahead and go through
I mean,
that.
that was my concern is that, maybe she decides she wants to buy an RV, and she could even park it there. So it does seem, but you would imagine if you had 22 acres and we're paying taxes on it, commercial taxes, which we just caught up. So,
Thank you.
We're 3 years back, they took at the wrong bank. But you understand, you would probably feel like, well, I bought this RV and I have 22 acres here in town, I can't park. So, but I would not have a problem saying there is a permit process where, okay, in this scenario, this is not going to pose, it's not going to be an eyesight issue because nobody's even probably going to see it. It's not going to be a health issue, you're not running and living out of it, or whatever. Because what we have, I think what we're trying to prevent is what ran into, in this, when we got to the residential part you were talking about. We had a trailer park downtown, but we couldn't prove people were living in it. We couldn't prove it was an office. We couldn't prove it was that was our problem, trying to prove what it was, other than just this trailer, this big RV park in the middle of town, more or less, right?
Yeah, it was behind that's where they fixed
Yeah.
the lawnmower.
So that's what is if we're not careful, entire Main Street gets littered with RVs.
Maybe we should identify certain areas where they can park, like 2790, where all the businesses are at, or downtown, to a certain area, because if you go past the dentist office, is all homes.
Right, so
All
you gotta,
across the
you
way.
gotta define what constitutes
Right.
a commercial property versus residence inside commercial zoned area.
Yeah, it'd be our zoning.
Yeah, and that's the thing where, like Jesse said, some of the stuff is already labeled based on the residential. That's why we want to separate and just residential completely separate, just look at it in the sense of the commercial side of it.
We're gonna look at just the commercial. So if y'all want, I can start to do some research on this and just see what I can find and go from there. I can't guarantee I'll have it back in 2 weeks, but I can start working on it. If y'all think this is something that is of interest.
But I would think if you focus on the word commercial property, do they run a business there? Is it actually a commercial property?
Well, our thing is going to be based off our zoning. If you're zoned commercial, and so we have
But I
property next
live,
door
I
to
live
us.
in an area that's zone commercial. And then what if I decide tomorrow to go buy an RV? I'm gonna park it next to my house,
Depending on how the ordinance is worded, you might not be able to.
but I should be able to because it's my residence.
But we word the ordinance so that if private residence is in the commercial zone, they can park it on their own property. I mean,
If that's
Yeah, we
how
need to be
legal, if
real
legal says there's a
careful.
way to do that, then yeah, I just,
or they just come in for a variance and we give them a, year-to-year variance,
Right. Permit, yearly permit or something. I don't,
$1 a year.
it just brings up a lot of questions.
I agree.
Yeah, that's what I was
The only
saying.
way for us, we have to go based off of what our zoning. If it's zoned commercial, it's commercial. Otherwise, I'd say, well, you're not commercial, but well, sorry, you are. And then we get caught in the middle of making that. No, it's just, what is our zone? And it's the easiest black and white way to do it.
Because there's zone commercial, but there's houses in some other areas.
I agree. There's a lot of commercial zoning, but it's residential property zoning. Because you can do anything below, you just can't go above.
And a lot of that was done, a lot of residential property got rezoned commercial even right here next to us through the years. And that's why we have Costa Tees. That's why we have the Ford dealership. So I'm glad that those residential property owners got their property rezoned, and it enabled us to develop to some nice additions to our community. But we need to, my opinion, from living here for 30-something years, we need to focus, try to keep as much extra junk off Main Street. We're already congested, and, you know, there could be some problems down there.
So if council wants, I can start looking into it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for,
I
sir.
move that we table this, allow our city administrator to look into it, maybe in conjunction with our attorneys, to see how we have to word, have them bring a recommendation back to us on how to move forward.
Got a motion? Second? Okay. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
We're not going to
Appreciate
solve
it.
this tonight.
No, but we need to look into it, definitely. Okay, M, consider and act upon the proposal for engineering services from TRC for water line adjustment of 12-inch main along IH-35 frontage road and FM 3175.
All right, so Ken, I have Scott Horwitz from TRC is here with us tonight. We've become like best buds, I think, with each other so much now. So backstory on this is based off that water line that got struck and then caused our big 12-inch valves and all that. In meeting with TxDOT, they told us, we want you to adjust your adjust your water lines in that intersection so they get out of our project well. And this is 100% paid through TxDOT through reimbursement. So the only issue is we can't just tell them we want to do this. They said because it's a TxDOT project, it has to be overseen by or stamped by an engineer set of plans. So that's where we reached out to TRC. They know our system. What we want to do is take our 12-inch main that exists now in front of the Texas Bank, Community National Bank. There's a 12-inch main that sits right there. And then off that 12-inch main, we run 2 3-inch lines that go under 3175 and run out of town. What I proposed to TRC, and then we met with TxDOT, and they're in agreement, is they allow us to get our 12-inch main across 3175 onto the other side where the new truck stop is going to be built at their cost. TxDOT said yes. They even told us to bore it is what they want to do. They don't want to open cut. They want to bore. And this is on that emergency work order thing they've drawn up. We've actually already got some of the documents. So as soon as I get this together, we can start to send these plans over to them. They're going to change order the actual work into it. But for TRC, this is a bill of $16,855 that the city of Lytle would have to cover that cost. And then we submit that into TxDOT as a reimbursement into the project. Then their plans they would draw up and release to TxDOT, and TxDOT would change order it into their construction project over there and extend our 12-inch main. Without going into a whole lot of detail, this is going to benefit the city in getting our 12-inch line to the other side of 3175 and actually getting us completely out of the easement and work zones of where TxDOT is what we're looking for. So, and Scott's here. He can explain if there's any question. That's a lot of it. This is all their surveying. It breaks it down: surveying, engineering costs, construction phase, and what they're willing to do, and all that.
Thumbs up, Scott?
I think so, yes. This will definitely get you out of TxDOT's way. And the idea is to clear the water line of any existing and future conflicts in that area that could pose problems for the city or any future customer connections also.
To get out of TxDOT's way. So anything they need to do in that intersection from here forward, they want to widen it again. We're going to be out of the TxDOT's way. And that's what they've asked us to do. Our engineers weren't super sharp about it, weren't sure about it when I said that's what I want to do. And so we met with TxDOT and they said, that's exactly what we want you to do. Draw it up, stamp it, send it to us.
You have that in writing?
We have that on every meeting we've been in. The mayor's been in, I've been in. We've got the emergency work order that we've already signed off that they've estimated the cost already well above this. We still have to submit back our damages from the actual water line repairs that we're gathering. They're aware of all this. And it's not just our local, I mean, these are TxDOT people all the way up through Austin that are aware of this project. And they're the ones that approached us and said, we want you to do that.
It's easier instead of keeping those 2 smaller lines in there, and then in the future they have to do something to work around it. So No, James, thumbs up? He's happy for that one. Makes
These
it
are
a
all
lot
items that
easier.
we'll eventually have to do budget amendments on as we get down the road, of course. But
We're gonna add valves to it, right?
Yes.
yes, this is calling for Val. I mean, we're
We're gonna mark with a valve, right?
yes,
Yeah.
we already know where the new ones are. We're gonna GPS them too.
They'll be brand new bulbs.
Well,
I want to make a motion for engineering services from TRC for water line adjustment of 12-inch main along IH 35 Frontage Road and FM 3175.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Second, okay. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Awesome. Scott, thank you for hanging in there.
I'll get y'all a
Appreciate
signed
it.
copy tomorrow. I'll get the mayor to sign it tonight for you.
Sounds,
Yes, we're ready to go.
start drawing it up. It'll be good. Be able to get those guys going.
Got my surveyor ready to go. All he needs is the, okay. So we'll go.
Now keep them in the timeline. They told us 280 days, right, to get the whole thing right. I
Already
know
got calls on
they're
that.
delayed. Oh my goodness, it's hurting us. That's what they said. It's all good. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Item number 8, executive session, call persistent to Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D, Section 551.071, consultations with the attorney, and 551.074, personal matters. Discuss and consider the following items. A, consider and act upon the purchase of real property. So, want to go ahead and gather us together, Matt?
Yes, please. And if council would, I'd ask if we can include finance into this since we're talking about money as well. You're good
Great.
overall.
So, Paula, if you can go ahead and show us going into executive session at 8:40 PM. Council, if we can actually go to the back, that would be great. All right, it's. Grab my. Sir? Paula, if you can go ahead and show us back at 8:58. Back in here, no action taken. Put it up to the council.
I'd like to move that we move forward on the purchase of the property mentioned in our executive session by beginning with having Mr. Deere get it appraised and following the guidance of the council and our attorney.
A motion on the floor for us to go ahead and proceed.
I'll second that.
Second. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and jump into, Pat, anything else?
No, not on that, sir.
Okay, let's go ahead and go into number 9, informational items. So,
I do have one. I received an email today from CPS Energy, and we just underwent our audit with the Railroad Commission on our gas system and passed with flying colors, nothing found on it. So we're good to go.
yeah. Good job, James. Yeah. Actually, that's pretty good, especially with, I know it's been a little bit of time, but we went through that, with CPS. We had fire on that truck that was connected and coming back and checking the system and everything. So that's awesome. That is awesome. Awesome. Okay. Anything else want to share? Council, Cassandra, Santi, anything informational items you guys want to share?
Anything on there about cleanup on the 22nd?
You can mention it. Go ahead.
We are gonna have our citywide, I guess you call it fall cleanup, the 22nd of October. We coordinated with Waste Management, Chris Cox, to get 3 roll-offs at the school as we had them before, and one right behind the city hall. They're gonna do some advertisement, informational flyers for us.
I'll reach out to them tomorrow and see whatever they've got, so we can get it on our sign and on our website.
He called me the other day at home, we talked about it. He asked if I wanted it or it should be sent to you, so I said send it to you. So you're gonna get it. And he's also gonna make a list for us to post on the dumpsters. So we don't have to tell the people what they can't put in there. We point to the sign and say, Waste Management does not allow tires and TVs and stuff in there. So it takes the heat off of us to tell people we can't take it. So it's good to go, and whenever you think it's appropriate, probably pretty soon to start.
I'll work on putting it on there tomorrow, at least something.
Yeah, because we're 10 days out right now.
Yeah. Richie, can you help us out with that?
Let me put out a special deal tomorrow, Matt, remind me, and with the details, because people need some time to get.
We can do the same thing on the deal with the shop.
Matt, when you, I don't know how you're gonna get it all on there, but we want
Bless you.
volunteers to come and do street cleanup on the same day.
What are the hours?
We usually start at 9.
Yeah, we start at 9 in the morning until 2, I think, on the dumpsters.
Yeah.
But we'll meet here in front of City Hall and hand out bags and things like that for people who want to walk on the streets and pick up stuff.
Yep.
You can call me if you need any more information.
We will need to have a few volunteers for the dumpsters just to watch when they come drop them off. Because once they're out there, people start showing up even though you're not there. And I know in the one that was here, we had somebody dropping drywall, which is one of the things that you're not supposed to put in there. So we'll have to work on that, but it's easy stuff. I'll try to take care of that. Okay, good. Skip?
I hate to mention this, but it came up today on the Edwards Aquifer website that we went into stage 4 restrictions today.
Yeah, it was actually, they issued it on the 8th and posted it on the 10th. I threw it up on our website this morning, so it's on there on that. Yes, I saw it. I think James told me this morning, so we jumped on. So it's on our website, right now that we're in stage 4. Hopefully we get some rain. We're not in it very long, but
What is that for the general public? What is stage
40% reduction in the water use. Went from 35 to now 40% reduction.
Can we still same every?
Say everything else stays the same.
Yes.
Yeah, they
And
just keep
there's-
measuring.
Possible
Yeah.
surcharge.
Yeah, there's possible surcharge. What that is, I don't really know, but hey.
Well, let's just keep like we talked about.
Yeah, I
on
think
the-
yeah, it's on our website. We're asking people to cut back 40% on their water usage. And then on another note, I just remembered November 1 starts the new billing where all commercial and small commercial is going to go through waste management, and all the residential will come through the city of Lytle with the new rates, of course. Just that way we don't have any big surprises. But that'll be all the new bills that are going out with all of our new water rates, garbage rates, and all that good stuff.
We just funnel the information out.
When do we,
Identifying all the what we call the idle accounts. It's those people who have meters that we read but never get a bill from us. My goal is draft a letter, send all of them a letter, and say, hey, on this date, you're going to start receiving a bill. We've identified we're going to start billing those at the minimum. If you don't want it, please call us so we can disconnect your service. There is a fee to disconnect the gas service, but it's going to be cheaper in the long run to have that disconnected and pay CPS than for us to just continuously keep going. We have some that have been like that for 20 to 25 years, I'm being told.
so which one did we decide not to charge for disconnection? The water?
Water and sewer, I think we can do the disconnect, so we don't have to worry about. But CPS Energy, they have to disconnect our gas, and we have to pay them. But $50 or something like that. I forgot what it was, but in the long run, it's cheaper for us to have it disconnected if they don't want it than to go another 10 or 15 years the way we're going.
The bulk pickup, when do we start the quarterly? What is the first bulk pickup?
Skip.
On the fourth, bulky pickup is the fourth Monday of the month.
But we move that to quarterly.
To
So
quarterly,
I will
right,
get
so-
with Chris on when our quarter starts and when they're
Okay.
gonna.
And that, so for October, you'll let everyone know.
Yes, I will email him.
Thank you.
I think that's what we were trying to do. And that's a-
The good thing, we'll have the citywide cleanup October 22nd, so we don't probably want our first quarterly pickup October,
Right.
I mean, maybe shoot for maybe December or right after Christmas. That way, if they got a bunch of stuff from Christmas they need to get rid of, and then we space them out.
On call, too, for other materials.
For the hazardous waste, remember, yes, we have that concierge hazardous waste at your door, paints,
Starting in
chemicals,
November.
that kind of thing. And that'll go into effect November 1, 2. For residential, if you're commercial, you need to contact Waste Management, and we've already had those calls. But
Maybe we'll take care of that. Okay. Anything else, Skip? Anything else? Anybody? Maybe able to share? Okay. A few things just wanted to go through. Really appreciate the opportunity and the coverage for AD and I to go visit our son. So David, thank you for stepping up during that time, and appreciate over the weekend having to do the scent patrol, Richie, and trying to figure all those things out. James was out there too, and the guys just trying to figure out what it was and where was it coming from. But glad we were able to figure that stuff out. The interesting ones were the postings, the texting, asking me about the water system. Then you ask them for their address, and they're not even in our water system. They're in a whole different water system down the road. But hey, they jumped on the bandwagon. There's something going on. So I love those. I want to thank Matt for helping us out with the conference attendance last week. That was good information. Be able to share, be able to understand, and kind of get us in the right perspective and the right mindset as we grow. I think some of the sessions that we went to kind of gave us some good nuggets, golden nuggets, kind of help us out of how to be able to line things up correctly and what we should be thinking about and lining ourselves up with. Special thanks to Richie and PD for a great national night out. Kudos all the way around, Richie. We got a lot. So folks setting up, the fire department, public works being out there, VFW, I mean, the auxiliary, everybody, national. Was it the National Honor Society that was out there? Yeah. So everybody did a great job. I think that worked out. A
We're
lot
gonna
of
be fired
folks.
up, fired up more for next year. We've been not doing it for 2 years. We were kind of a little gun shy as to over planning it, trying to, but next year we're gonna, try to spice it up a bit.
You gonna take that challenge I told you?
Sumo wrestling.
Sumo
I'm
wrestling?
thinking right in the taser, I'm shooting.
No.
Sorry.
I told him the challenge was helicopter. Bring in a helicopter. Park it in the parking lot. Bring a helo.
I don't have rocks out there. I don't think.
Somebody did try to use my city credit card, my city debit card to rent an airplane in Florida this weekend.
There you go.
Yeah, that's no joke. They called me on there. Did you try to rent an airplane in Florida?
That guy cheap and spends all his money on
Yeah,
it.
so I can. Now, if
See?
they called me and said, "Did you try to get cash advance at casino?" I might have said, "Well, hold on."
Wait a minute. I got to figure that one out.
No, yeah, that actually happened. But anyway, so
See?
maybe I can rent a helicopter next year.
Planes out of Florida. You got to watch out. See, now we know who's involved. That's
I'm like
Richie.
Miami vibes. I just buttoned my shirt up all the way.
There you go. We're the pink ones. Special thanks for Paola for getting our tax records completely caught up. Thanks again. Being able to take care of that. So we're completely now. Everything done. So little by little, she's been knocking it out. So that is awesome. And we still have November, December, January, February. We still have 4 months to go. So be ready for that transition. That'll be good. Be able to take care of that. Special thanks for city employees that went out. I know I saw some of the PD folks reading out to our primary kids in the elementary, Richie. So please pass that on, and to any of the other employees. That was great to be able to see them out there. If you have a chance, it's on the last Friday, Richie.
I don't know. We've done it several years, so I get confused if there's a pattern or not.
Yeah, it's the last Friday. So if you're interested, go to the elementary school. They're always looking for folks to go in and read to the kids. So it's
And
pretty good.
we'll be up there. We'll have a couple guys up there for career day on the 17th.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a career day. I think we're in.
So I have a chance to be able to go out there. Congrats on the event. Heard it went very well over at the church.
We didn't have as many people as the year before, but it was all right.
Still turned out good. That's what I heard.
It was nice and cool.
Yeah, nice and cool.
Hey,
They sold out all the barbecue plates, like right around 2:00. That's real good. Yeah, that was on Saturday.
I mean, the pizzas were good. The hamburgers were good. I'll just stop right there. Because my wife made me this.
so the food was all the attention. It wasn't about the music or anything else.
I don't pay no attention. I was knowing like 80s.
I see it.
He went out of the park because he didn't want to hear it.
One
That's
of
what-
those bands was rough, wasn't it? Sir? No rough.
So, that's about horns.
Oh my goodness.
No guitar, no horns.
Hey, so for this weekend, we also have another event. So if you have a chance, there's a few things going on. First thing is the Masonic Lodge is having for the first responders breakfast. Opportunity, pass the word around. They're serving breakfast for them
When is that, sir?
this Saturday.
I wasn't aware.
I ain't heard anything about it.
Holy cow.
Yeah, because Matt's fire.
They got it. They got me a flyer today, so I sent it out. So, yeah, I posted it. So, but take a look. Yeah. So that's going on, and then right at noon time frame into the afternoon, we have the fall sale over in the new antique shop, right across from Rowhead and the pub. That area where they have, what is it called, Southbound Pottery? Yeah, the new place there. So we got antique shop, and they're going to have a few vendors and a few things in there. So definitely take advantage of being able to go out there and support them out with that. So quite a few things that are going on around this area too. We got a few things just down the street too, and some of the other cities that are going to be doing stuff too. So take advantage of being able to do that. Let me just double check, make sure there's anything. Yeah. Okay. And one other thing too. So our local FFA is having a fundraiser. It is out in Jordanton just because of the grounds or where they're actually doing the events, but the benefits actually support the Pirate FFA event. So there's flyers out there too. So if you get a chance, go out there and support them as part of their fundraising that they have. Okay. Congrats to Pirates, from the band to the athletics, cross country, volleyball. I mean, a lot of folks doing a lot of great things. The band actually ended up as
Well, they just finished up all their pre-UIL demonstration things, and they ended up third, which is real good. This Saturday, they have their first UIL competition. It's district, and it's in Congress. So this is the big one. There'll be a send-off. If you want to come out to watch the band and head out, we'll be meeting in front of City Hall and right where the Chick-fil-A truck parks there.
Okay.
Starting about 9:30. The bus is supposed to roll by just after 10. So if you get here before 10, you're good. But if you get here at 10, you won't find a place to park. And we'll.
So it's at 10 when they're going to roll by?
No, I think they're leaving over there at 9.
Yeah, they even there.
9:10.
Because the traffic gets really bad right there, and they block right in front of, True Value. It gets like, people are trying to get in and out.
They back up all the way to the South Shore.
Yeah, I don't know which that, I've sent it out to the guys to help with the escort. That's the guy.
So they're leaving at 9:10, right?
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
9:10.
I got you.
Okay.
So yeah, you need to get in here before 9 o'clock. But we turn on our lights, we push the emergency thing and beep, 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 and wave at them as they go by. And Richie's gonna have one of the guys escort around town.
Okay.
Awesome.
They'll be well fed. They'll be coming from that breakfast. Not sleepy.
We'll just take them through the breakfast and pick you up on the way. Does that sound good? I'll make it easier for Rich. Okay. Well, good. Any other events this Saturday that we need to talk about? Okay. And please, can't overemphasize what we just mentioned with the cleanup for the following Saturday. So get the word out there. Finally, I just want to say thanks to Paolo for putting the proclamation together. Appreciate you doing that, putting that as being able to highlight. So that worked out really good. Trying to do that. Any last minute things besides my talking about my souvenir? James says it looks familiar. Yeah. So I tell you, the city staff they're just unbelievable how they take care of this. This is piece of that 12-inch pipe that got busted. You had to be able to take care of it, and want to keep it because I mean that was a long few days trying to figure out. Matt helping out, coordinate, doing the different things that we needed to do, and then everybody coming together, the whole community, just being able to plan everything with the school, with the businesses, and I couldn't ask for it to have gone any better for us to bring everything back up. We were a little bit worried there about how long it was taking. Pushing water at 4:30 when we thought it would be like 2:30. That was a little close, but the booster pumps came on and they did what they were supposed to in a short period of time. But can't thank the staff enough. You guys are rock stars, being able to get things done and take care of things. We really appreciate you. So with that in mind, it's 9:16 right now. Can I get a motion for us to go ahead and adjourn? Okay, got a motion for us to go ahead and adjourn? Got a second? Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great evening.